Global War 36 enthusiast here with Operation 20 Core, Turn 6.5, Commonwealth. It is January 1939. The Commonwealth has 2 tech rolls. First I tried for advanced artillery at a 7 or higher. PBE generated a 9, so I succeeded. Second, I tried for amphibious doctrine at a 7 or higher. PBE generated a 5, so I failed. Purchases. Great Britain has 16 IPP to spend. They will purchase 2 Marines for 8, complete construction of the light carrier for 4, that's 12, build a rail on the border of Sudan and Tanganyika for 2, that's 14, and build a rail on the border of Tanganyika and Rhodesia, that's 2, bringing me up to 16. That will complete African colonialism, and that's why there's the free air base there. FEC has 10 IPP to spend. They'll purchase 1 militia for 2, 1 infantry for 3, that's 5, and complete construction of the fortification in Calcutta for 5, that's 10. ANZAC has 8 to spend. They will purchase an infantry and complete construction, begin construction of a fortification in Sydney for 5, that's 8. Previewing the French, they have 10 IPP and they'll purchase 5 militia. Okay, combat movement. So I reached out to Boston Bruce and Panzer J about these combat moves. They haven't gotten back to me at the time of this filming. So, gentlemen, if there's a move that where you want to declare war, just stop the recording at that timestamp and send me a text that you want to declare war at whatever time on my video, and then I'll change my moves after that declaration of war. I highly doubt either of my opponents will declare war, but just in case they do, since I didn't give them a chance to declare war, that's how we'll play it out. Okay, so from Lower Egypt, 1 naval transport will leave port to Sea Zone I-5, and then move 1 to M8, 2 to M4, 3 to M2, and go in port in Gibraltar. From Gibraltar, 1 naval transport will leave port to Sea Zone A44. It will move 1 to A35, 2 to A28, 3 to A21, and go in port in southern England. From southern England, 1 naval transport will leave port to Sea Zone A21 carrying 2 infantry. It will move 1 to A28, 2 to A35, 3 to A44. This is really the first point that I think, if there was ever a possibility, I don't think Panzer J wants to declare war here, but he could. But if he doesn't, then the naval transport will drop off 2 infantry in Gibraltar and go in port in Gibraltar. So I have 3 infantry there. That'll bring me up to 5 infantry. Five infantry in Gibraltar. Okay. All right, so now we have some, we have a move over here. From Sea Zone A44, this ANZAC naval transport will pick up 1 FEC infantry from Hong Kong and then move 1 to P50. Japan could declare war, but I don't think he wants to. 2 to I-12. Again, he could, but I don't think he will. And then 3 to I-11. Drop off another FEC infantry in Calcutta and go in port in Calcutta. That'll bring me up to 7 FEC infantry in Calcutta. All right, we have some convoy escort duty changes over here in the Atlantic. From Sea Zone A27, this destroyer will come off escort duty. That doesn't trigger a potential declaration of war from that coastal sub. He's not moving into the sea zone. And then from sea zone A20, this task force, consisting of a light carrier, 2 heavy cruisers, a destroyer, and a torpedo boat destroyer, will move from A20 to A27. I'm going to have this destroyer join that task force. The guy that came off escort duty, so now there's 2 destroyers in that task force. Okay, up in A18, there's a destroyer on convoy escort duty. It's going to come off escort duty and move to sea zone A20 and go back on escort duty. Okay, from sea zone A19, 1 destroyer will come off of escort duty. It's going to move down to sea zone A35 and go on escort duty. So I've basically got 3 destroyers down in A35 that are on escort duty. This French guy's still on escort duty, but I'm going to move him right next to the card. All right. And that's the end of my combat movement, non-combat movement. From London, 1 airborne infantry will move to southern England. From sea zone, from Gibraltar, 1 air transport will fly up to southern England. So 1 to A44, 2 to A35, 3 to A28, 4 to A21, 5 to land in southern England. From lower, oh no, I'm not doing that. Yeah, from Lower Egypt, that's right. From Lower Egypt, this naval transport will strategic naval move. So it'll come 1 out to M8, 2 to M4. You can't declare war on strategic naval movement. So this is why I didn't have to do this during, well, you can't do it during the combat movement phase because you can't do strategic naval movement during the combat movement phase. That's actually the reason why you can't declare war during strategic movement. It has to do with the complication of we don't want strategic naval movement to occur in the combat movement phase, but we also have to have potential movement that could cause a declaration of war to occur in the combat movement phase. So the solution is you just can't declare war on strategic naval movement, which kind of makes sense. You can't start the war by taking out strategic naval movement. Anyway, so 1 to, or just start, you start in M8, 1 to M4, 2 to M2, pick up an infantry and an anti-aircraft artillery from Gibraltar, 3 to M4, 4 to M2, drop them off here in Lower Egypt and go import in Lower Egypt. So Lower Egypt will have 6 infantry and 2 anti-aircraft artillery. And the militia, of course. Okay. I've just dropped something on the floor. Just a second. Sorry for this delay. Oh, here it is. Okay. Now, somehow I have screwed things up, and I don't know how. Okay. could not figure out. There's 2 naval transports in Gibraltar. That's what I dropped on the floor, was a naval transport. So just to reiterate, it started off, one of the naval transports started off in Lower Egypt on the southern side, and that guy came over here at the start of this turn to Gibraltar. There was one in Gibraltar at the start of the turn. It went up to southern England, and the one from southern England came down. So that's why I have 2 here in Gibraltar. Okay, let's go over here to Sea Zone I-5. This submarine, coastal sub, will move into Sea Zone M8. That's not a combat movement because the Italians can't do anything about it. There's no chance for them to declare war on that. And then from Southwest Africa, this seaplane will fly to Lower Egypt. So 1 to Sea Zone A54, 2 to I1, 3 to I3, 4 to I4, 5 to I5, and 6 to land in Egypt. All right, that's the end of my combat movement. So placement of units. Down here in Cape Town, I'm going to put 1 Marine. Got an infantry and Marine down there in Cape Town. Okay, I am going to build a rail on the border of Sudan and Tanganyika, and I'm going to build a rail on the border of Tanganyika and Rhodesia. That achieves African colonialism, and I'm going to put an air base in Lower Egypt. All right. Then that is up in London, I'll put a Marine. And in Sea Zone, or in Lower Egypt, or not Lower Egypt, Southern, God, camera turns on, brain turns off. In Southern England, I will build a light carrier. Okay. In port. That light carrier is in port in Southern England. Okay, and then I collect 16 IPP with Great Britain. FEC, I'm going to put a militia and another FEC infantry, so that'll bring me up to 8 FEC infantry in Calcutta. And then I complete that fortification over here. Let's remember to grab that militia. Okay. And then Anzac. I will place 1 infantry in Sydney. That'll bring me up to 3 infantry there. And I'll begin construction of that fortification. Probably wasteful, but Hambone caught me out one time, and I don't want that to happen again. Freaking Hambone. All right. So I didn't say that FEC collects 7 income. Oh no, 8. Sorry, they get 8. They were at 7, but that carrier, the Japanese carrier, bumped them up to 8. And Anzac collects 5. All right. We will proceed to France's turn. France buys 5 militia. They do have some combat movement. From Sea Zone A18, one torpedo boat destroyer comes off escort duty, moves to A19, and goes on escort duty with the British torpedo boat destroyer. From Sea Zone A27, one French destroyer comes off escort duty, moves down to Sea Zone A44, and goes on escort duty. Oh, I forgot to roll for tech. I should roll for tech with the French. They're going to try for long-range aircraft. Got it teed up on PBE. They fail with a 5. Okay, from Sea Zone A35, the destroyer on escort duty comes off escort duty, moves to Sea Zone M4, and goes on escort duty in Sea Zone M4. And from Sea Zone M4, the destroyer that was on escort duty there comes off escort duty and moves to M8 and goes on escort duty there in Sea Zone M8. This is during the combat movement phase, and the Italians have every right to declare war on the French. They're not going to do that. Okay, so non-combat movement. Gonna do kind of a weird move. Gonna have 3 militia from Alsace-Lorraine will move to Paris. 1 militia from Alsace-Lorraine will rail to, 1 militia from Aquitaine will rail to Alsace-Lorraine. So there's 2 there. I did this just so I could move the chip. Let's see. Then I'll place 3 militia in Alsace-Lorraine and 2 militia in Paris. So 2 more turns this green chip into a red chip. So I've got 16 militia in Paris. Oh, before that, I forgot to move this infantry from Paris, moves to Normandy. That gets me up to 10 infantry in Normandy. No infantry in Paris. Okay, so then I place 2, get me up to 16. So I've got 16 infantry and 1 anti-aircraft artillery in Paris. Really, my defense of Paris is about how many turns it can last. I'm hoping to last longer than 3 turns, and then Paris survives. If he goes for Paris. Alsace-Lorraine, I place 3 militia there, so that gets me up to 5. All right. Collect income. France collects 10 IPP. Let's do disposition of forces. In northern England, 1 militia. In southern England, 4 militia, 1 airborne infantry, 1 anti-aircraft artillery, 1 fighter, 1 air transport. In port in southern England, a light carrier and a naval transport. In London, 1 marine, 1 anti-aircraft artillery. In port in London is a battleship, a battlecruiser, and a coastal defense ship. In Sea Zone I6, a French battleship. In Sea Zone A23, a French battleship. In Sea Zone I21, a French fighter on map. In Normandy, 10 infantry, 1 mountain infantry, 1 foreign legion, 2 motorized infantry, 1 artillery. In Paris, 16 militia, 1 anti-aircraft artillery. In Alsace-Lorraine, 5 militia. In Sea Zone A19, 1 British torpedo boat destroyer and 1 French torpedo boat destroyer, both on escort duty. In Sea Zone A20, 1 destroyer on escort duty. In Sea Zone A28, 2 destroyers on escort duty. In Sea Zone A27, 1 light carrier with a fighter, 2 heavy cruisers, 2 battleships, 2 heavy cruisers, 2 destroyers, 1 torpedo boat destroyer. In Sea Zone A35, 2 destroyers on escort duty. In Sea Zone A44, 1 destroyer, French destroyer on escort duty, 1 French medium bomber on map. In Gibraltar, 1 militia, 4 infantry, 1 mountain infantry, 1 anti-aircraft artillery, 1 medium bomber. In port in Gibraltar, 2 battleships, 1 heavy cruiser, 2 naval transports. In Sea Zone M2, 1 light carrier, 2 British light cruisers, 1 Anzac light cruiser, 1 Anzac destroyer, 2 submarines. In Malta, 1 militia. In Sea Zone M4, a French light cruiser and a French destroyer on escort duty. In Sea Zone M8, 1 French destroyer on escort duty, 1 British coastal submarine. Cyprus with a militia. Lower Egypt, a militia, 6 infantry, 2 anti-aircraft artillery, a seaplane. On the northern side of Lower Egypt is 1 naval transport in port. On the southern side in Egypt is 2 heavy cruisers and a destroyer in port. In Sea Zone I-5, 4 French submarines, 2 naval transports. In Cape Town, 1 infantry, 1 marine. In southern India, 1 militia. In Ceylon, 1 militia. In British Malaya, 1 militia. In Sarawak, 1 militia. In Calcutta, 1 militia, 2 British infantry, 8 FEC infantry, 2 Anzac infantry, 1 Gurkha, 2 Anzac artillery, 2 British anti-aircraft artillery, 2 FEC anti-aircraft artillery. In port in Calcutta, 1 naval transport, Anzac. I don't know if I said there was a militia in Calcutta, but there is. In Sydney, 3 infantry, 1 motorized infantry, and a fortification partially, or just started. North and South Islands of New Zealand have 1 militia. Next up is Panzer J with 6.7, Italy.